right, welcome to Prompt Engineering Workshop. I think this is the fourth public workshop that we are doing. And in addition to that, I think if the bootcamp attendees, I think you are spending more time with me than maybe your colleagues or even your family. So welcome again. So thank you for giving all your time. And we'll just go. So prompt engineering, I think we'll start with the basics. Yes, there is an agenda to it, but the agenda, as always, will be shaped by you. And there is nothing stops us from doing more. But we could also do more basics. We can do more advanced, but totally there. But in the introduction of what prompt engineering is, how can we use prompts? And then there are lots of prompts that we can play with it. But most importantly, what's the basic principles and structure that we need to use it so that you could get most out of it. That's the important thing. So yeah, pleased to introduce. So generative AI, you might have heard this terminology, generative AI. So if you have Googled it, Googled it, see, I think that word, if you Google it, might not exist in the next 3-4 months, or maybe in the next year. Because search, that's the question here, right? See, you consciously, unconsciously, I'm using the word search. The very first thing, yeah, bring it. So the very first thing that we need to be aware of is your chat GPT or your generative AI is not a search. It's not a search. So, and that's the very first difference. So don't expect it to give you a list of links and sources that you may need to go back and find the information. So that's a very, very first learning for us, or a mindset shift for us, because we all have been fine-tuned for well over 15, 20 years from 2000s of searching, getting a link, holding the link, reading it, going to the next link. But today, the links are irrelevant. So what you need to know here is, whereas your search gives you existing information, your generative AI gives you new content. And you don't, because it gets connected to all the sources, you can go dig out what sources it gets connected, like 175 million records or something. It's been connected and it's been loaded more and more. But the more principle that you need to understand here is generative AI creates new content, anything. We are just looking at text, but it creates images, music. People are using it. Disney's new movie that they're working on they're working with OpenAI to create the stuff. So it's at every level. And I'll also touch how some of the governments are already using OpenAI to evaluate the contracts. It's not, when I said things are moving faster, it's moving very fast. But you are the, as I always say, you are the explorers. So first principle is, this creates new content, whereas your search finds what already exists. That's the one that you will need to have a mindset shift, right? Which means if you ask, hey, where is the source? How true it is? Why is it, etc.? The onus sits on you. The onus sits on you to confirm, but it creates your baseline content based on what it has, but you have to go and do it. But there are two sources. Again, number one is OpenAI, because part of Scribble ethos, we always try to democratize as much as possible, which means the OpenAI is a democrat-based, same principles. Google Bard is also new, went live last week. I'm so pleased to use it, but it's not as, the difference between those two is OpenAI cutoff is September 2021. That's where their last final record is. Whereas in Google Bard, they say it's real time. And Google, when it starts to work, will be very, very powerful. That's why Microsoft is accelerating the adoption of OpenAI across its platform. Every day there is a new advert, every day. So, it's super important. That's why they are making it much, so that you're getting used to OpenAI before Bard comes and hits you. So, but Bard, because of the website, because of analytics, because of the way it's been structured with search and stuff, might give you a lot more new insights, but the basic algorithm is far away from where it used to be, which means by the time it comes back, Microsoft Copilot and stuff, which is already there set up, will take us to a certain different league. So if you already use Microsoft Copilot, good for you. If you're not, be prepared to be astonished of the future of world that looks in. All these things I've already covered previously. The important principle is, these two sources, you can use it anytime. But if you're having a free version, then obviously that comes with it. So again, I asked generative AI, again, you might have recognized this is ChatGPT. Anybody has not experimented with this yet? Anybody has not logged in, have user ID? Anybody who hasn't used it at all? Anyone? It's okay, because from today you will be using it more and more. But anyone who hasn't, or anybody who has a plus version, which means you are using it day to day, right? Not at all. Okay, Jason, I think from now you will be. Yes, or Phil is using plus, which is great. Yes, once you are used to it, you will be. This is the first thing you will open every day. And what I suggest is give a name, and then so that it's much easier. Your interaction becomes very, very human with it, rather than to say, yes, great. I think, it's good. Use it, but if you have not, don't worry, you are here and you will start to use it from today. So, because I've been using it, started to use it recently, that's great. That's it. This is going to be very important, because you won't be alone. That's a different thing, and many of the stuff that you don't need to know best practice anymore. Let me be controversial here. You don't need to know best practice anymore, because the swipe files within OpenAI will give you a starting point. You can go and test anything. Whatever you learned so far, you go and ask, what is an executive summary? What's the value proposition? What's the key themes? How do you do capture planning? How do you do a sales letter? Everything is in there. Your only job is just to use the prompts to get the best out of it, and you don't need to know, but you do need to know the basics. And what you will find now is, the more you know, the more you could get the best out of it. But underlying, a graduate or 1 to 3 years experienced person who knows how to use prompt can compete effectively with a 25 years experienced person now, because of this. But your experience is your experience, your knowledge is your knowledge. But that world is moving very fast. So, it's a prime point here is, I just asked, okay, explain generative AI for a 10-year-old. How does it differ from search? Use 2 characters, generative AI and search, and let them converse. You will see here, I didn't ask a blunt question, right? Explain generative AI for a 10. Explain generative AI to me. Then it's going to come and tell you technical. That's so much information in there. It tries to explain to me, generative AI is a clever robot that makes up its own stories, songs, and pictures, all of its own, without needing anyone to tell it what to do. It's a computer program, da. Search, on the other hand, it's more like a fast and efficient directive. It helps you find things that you're looking for by looking through lots of information and trying to match it, right? Let's say 2 characters here, Charlie and Sam. And it goes on and it explains why this is important. Number 1 is, when you ask, if you can ask, so you can give a competitor, you can use 2 characters, in this case, Sam and Charlie. So it automatically picks it up. So when don't go for generic information, because my bootcamp students clearly know, it's very important for you to know what AI knows about your company, your product, your service, your bid, your customer, right? You just need to know in your pulse, and because they are updating gradually. What you know yesterday is totally irrelevant today. When you come out with anonymous stuff, yes, it's okay. You don't need to pump any content towards it, but you should be very, very, very strong in what does it already know about you. And you just need to play with it. When I say you, it's your company and others, but you can go and ask what does it know about you as well. So it explains, hey, Sam, how are you doing? And XYZ, I've been busy creating new stories and poems. That's cool. I've been busy searching the information for people to find what they're looking for. For example, if someone wants to know the best pizza place in town, I can help them find quickly. But as you know now, you can go back, many of the APIs now within it, Shopify is integrated, TripAdvisor, all the tools have now been integrated, which means all the search functions is now already in there. So before I forget, if you are not subscribed to Plus, but if you're still using ChatGPT, the basic version, which is 3.5, you can still use Bing search. You can still use Bing search to get the best out of 4, because Bing search is automatically connected to chat. And in the chat, you could ask the question, before I forget. This is new. Just 2 days ago, we were talking about RFP shredding using AI with the team. This went live today. If you log into ChatGPT today, you have a new function that's been added. So the prompts which I was supposed to have today, they have partnered already with usechatgpt.ai, which is a free tool. and see the word Copilot, right? Copilot on Chrome, because I have added it within my own Chrome. As you can see here, I will show you, because there are so many prompts companies who are already creating it. In the past, people used to sell tools, templates, designs, logos, and you name it, everything. Today, the same guys are selling prompts. How can you use the prompts to get the designs from Canva? How can you use the prompts to get the best LinkedIn post, etc.? You can buy them for $1, $5, etc. Use ChatGPT.ai. Because I've added it already within my Chrome, it gives me a drop down. I'll show you live. This is the free tool, right? And they all have a very popular Reddit forum called ChatGPT Prompt Genius, which is the tool, and they have a lot more inside, which means unfortunately, bid and proposal management is still not recognized as a profession, whatever they say outside. So you won't find this in the category, but you might find marketing or sales or copywriting, etc., and you will find here, right? So this was news for me. When I logged in today, it automatically went in there and it told me, hey, do you want me to act as somebody? That's an important word, act as somebody, and we'll go from there. And then I asked, are we in inflection point with AI in prompt engineering, right? What do I mean by inflection point is will there be a tectonic shift within what we are doing? Then in Bing said, again, as an example, you can still use Bing to do your chats. According to Microsoft, obviously, Bing is a Microsoft tool. It just went back and it tells, yes, AI will be the most consequential technology advance of our lifetime, and says it will change almost everything, right? That's the reason we started it. And for me personally, I'm spending a lot of time on this because every day is new. And every week when we do the bootcamp, I'm finding more and more tools with it. So again, we also use Bing. Yes, we are an inflection point. Today, you are here, and I'm super proud, super happy, super blessed to have you here, because not everybody will be doing here. You know, I've scored out the survivors, because the survivors is not going to be, yes, okay, stop, thank you. So survivors are not going to last long. When I say last long, I thought second half 2023 will be interesting, but it's going very fast. So, you know, Canadian government has already analyzed 7,000 plus of their government contracts using AI. So, which meant now they know what worked for them, what doesn't work for them, which supplier quoted what, which supplier didn't quote what, and what's the price range, and what's the information that they've added for question by question, how it differs from one to the other. They already have done that. Right? World is moving fast. Estonian government, you know, if you look at which government leads the world AI, it's Estonian government. Estonian government already using AI in their government procurement evaluation, and they already used it to digitize most of their local government services. So in the UK, the discussion has already began within government commercial function, where they are starting to see what they can do. They are in the discovery phase. So the discovery is going to be the word. But what I thought, 2023, people will be making a decision because of the robustness of what's happening here. You are going to find this difference between survivors, observers, and accelerators going to be very, 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 very big now. So people who were in the past surviving, who have adopted AI, will going to initially start to improve, but they are going to go really up. People who already are really up, who are quietly playing the AI game themselves. When I say AI game, is nothing fancy. It's trying to use it daily, trying to see what works, what doesn't work, all the way from emails to meetings to sales to marketing to everything are going actually. You don't need to have 15-member marketing team. You don't need to have a 10-member big team. That 10-member big team is doing much more strategic thinking. You know, they are doing the right, they're doing the things. We already are in the process of recruiting 3 prompt managers for bid coordinators, which means they don't use the word bid coordinators. They won't use prompt, because that gives them $10,000 to $15,000 more in their salary compared to a traditional bid coordinator, right? So the world is moving fast. So today you are here listening. Yes, 32 people registered, and 16 are here, half, and the other 16 will be listening. And bootcamp students, you know, it's different. Yes, it's exploration. Every day things are changing. We are exploring. Nobody knows. This is the firm thing. That's the world we are in. But I just want you to be more and more involved on this, just to do it, because They're already looking into this AI regulations. How are we going to bring SMEs into the platform? How are we going to evaluate all these things inside? People looking, but the policies, procedures will start to kick in 1-2 years. But because Microsoft is already accelerating in the adoption of OpenAI within its tools, already the top 50 clients have now got Copilot. Copilot, as you know, the recording that I'm doing now with the slides will automatically be converted into podcast, and I'll get a transcript, and it automatically gets converted. I can change the design in 60 seconds of this slide. You will see, if you are used to me, you will see every slide there'll be a different font, because that's that's me. But this is the report that came out 2 days ago, straight after the bootcamp. I will add the link. Again, you could go and search yourself. It's like GPTs and, it's an early look at the labor market impact potential of large language models. So it came back, as you can see here, University of Pennsylvania, Open Research, OpenAI, it came back. It's a 35-page research article released 27, and it highlighted few roles which is at risk. When they say risk is not eliminating, but many of the tasks or many of the roles that we are doing might be useful. But again, our industry is not there, as you can see, but if mathematician, tax preparers, all the way ahead, you can see writers, journalists, authors, news editors, accountants at every level, proofreaders, copy markers, which is marketers, and then administrators. I know many people tend to say, hey, I've been looked at as an administrator, etc. If we don't change, it's going to be tough. That's why I scored off the survivors. At the moment, when the very first webinar, you see the tsunami coming and hitting, it's going to be hitting even harder. So again, I will send you the link after this webinar. Read it. Yes, it's 35 pages, but you can see it's an academic article, how they used it, 27,000 different stuffs that they used to get on with it. So principle number one, we got some high level understanding of what prompts is, but before we even get to it, it's going to be speed. Yes, there will be arts, there will be science, but the most important thing is speed now comes to the picture. But then you could question, where is the quality? When yes, it will be there. But if you know how to prompt properly, your quality comes quicker because it gives you time for quality, because you're not spending time on mundane tasks anymore. You could get to baselines very quickly for any of the proposal stuff, any of the bid stuff, any of the what I call capture or account planning, pricing, legals, anything. You could get to a baseline very quickly that allows you to work on the quality, allows you to work on creativity, strategic thinking, and others. So that's it. So people say, oh, speed is not everything. Of course, it's not everything. But if you declutter with this, then you could do more. That's it. So this is a new way of speed. So again, we are moved on. I'm not even going to talk about OpenAI, the usage, the data, the compliance. It's all out there. And I always said, what, if it's not for you, it's not for you. You can sit and wait, but then, that's your risk. Exploring something comes with its own thing, but at the same time, if you are using Microsoft Teams today, and if you are using any other tool, this is, you just need to think from their perspective. Okay, will Microsoft goes and does something so silly that they are going to lose all the people just because integrating with OpenAI, because they want to take down Google. So why do they need to give up all the schools, universities, government operations that they have? And by integrating with OpenAI, with all their tools, why are they messing up, right? So we already looked into that. What's a prompt engineer and what's not a prompt engineer? Yes, I am doing, I've just started, as Angie asked about Microsoft Teams Premium. Again, it's something, it's just $7 more. I've did it. So if you haven't, please do. It's very interesting because they already have connected with OpenAI, and the meeting that I'm doing now, it automatically transcripts, actions comes out, and it even tells you when it's due and stuff. Please to use Microsoft Premium, $7 more a month if you are a freelancer, or if you're one person company, definitely explore it. It's yes. So no, Microsoft Teams is upgraded. Microsoft Teams gets upgraded, but you might be wondering, why am I still using Zoom? Because again, Zoom is what we use it. It helps us audio version, it helps us video version. Then I also can use it for breakout rooms and stuff. That's the reason this is here. So again, I'm not going to read it again, you can read it. Prompt engineering is the process of giving the AI language model clear and effective instruction because it's there waiting for you what you can do. So primarily GPT 3.5, GPT 4 as an introduction. 3.5, it remembers the conversation of 3,000 words, which means if you go and add a tender document upside down with 20 pages, etc., it just reads the first 3,000 words and it answers. Whereas 25,000 words is GPT-4. It gives you a lot more. Its memory is more, which means in one push, I'm talking about one chat. In one chat, in one comment, you can push 2,500. Whereas in 3.5, you just need to do it 8 times or 7 or 8 times to get it close to what GPT-4 can do, right? So input gives you output, and multiple prompts within the output, within the inputs gives you iteration. And now we are officially entering prompt. So what a prompt is, you are telling ChatGPT, in this case, we are using OpenAI, telling ChatGPT what you want. And it then tells you, explain how you want and in what format. Remember, if you go for any leadership training, the first thing they will ask you is, do you know what the communication style of your leader? What format do we need and when do we need it by? Exactly the same thing with prompts as well. You need to tell it what you want, but when you ask randomly or what we call a naked question, then it gives you whatever it can in whatever the format. So, but it's important for you to tell what format this. Tell me in this format. Get the output, then you feedback it. So input, format, output. That's a prompt engineering process. We'll be testing it out as we move. So I will be introducing 6 prompts now. These are the foundational prompts. And once we finish it, I'm going to give an example and we are going to split out into small groups and we are going to work it through, because I just want you to open up, whether you do 3.5 or 4, doesn't matter. But I just want to work it through just to get, I will do it in a way that there is at least one student in a group from the bootcamp who can guide you on the other side. But it also means it's a learning practice for them, plus anybody else. You can work with them, or you might tell them the new ways of working. So the very first thing is called naked prompt. A naked prompt, as the word says, is because I'm going to use marketing as an example. The reason being that this is a tip for you. When you go and do a prompt for that's related to bid and proposals, because it's not really recognized, it's going to give you something. I want you to think it this way. Instead of asking executive summary, which is fine. If you go and ask what Shipley's 4-box template, if you ask APMP's best practices, it knows already all those things. You can test it out. It's your swipe file, right? We don't need to know all these things. But what I would want you to do that is think it from the marketing side, think it from the sales side, because you get a much more punchy, powerful response from it because it has learned a lot more around it. So in this example, I'm going to use a test case with the sales letter. And I'm going to also try to see, yes, in this case, I'm keeping it very simple. Okay, we need to write a sales letter to sell a course on how to have a better marriage. So I needed myself this course, how to have a better marriage. So that's it. So this one is called a naked prompt because you haven't given it any context, right? A naked prompt has no context around it, and it won't give you great results on its own, but it's an excellent place to start. Why it's an excellent place to start? Because you are testing OpenAI. What do you actually know? What do you know about me? What do you know about my company? What do you know about a sales letter? What do you know about writing a course? What do you know about better marriages? You are testing 3 things. And based on the response, you could then refine and it could go. But there are better ways to do it. This is called a naked prompt. The next one is what we call a role-based prompt. A role-based prompt, this is important. This is the next level. The next level of a role-based prompt is where you are officially going and you are telling officially going and telling AI to act as something. I've just added in the chat the prompts, download it, and let me know when you're downloaded because you will need it for the exercise. So a role-based prompt is, I want you to act as someone. I want you to act as a managing director, as a proposal writer, as a marketing copywriter. Now you go and write this. Now it thinks, now you're telling me, oh, okay, I'm going to make it as a marketing copywriter. So now, how will a marketing copywriter think? It goes back and it gets up some of the marketing copywriters' ways of working, and it brings in. This is called a role-based prompt. Yeah, you're improving it based on specifically telling it, now you are X, Y, Z. The next one is the next level of elevation. What we call is a data-fed prompt. A data-fed prompt is, it's very, very powerful. There is one thing you could get from this course is this one. And many people don't know about it because it's like, you can take anything. Like this is where you're testing. When I say, don't, as I told you, don't just go with the same pot of what you know already as best practice, because the world is now open to you, and there are a lot of interesting things that you can work on, that you can now use it in your tender process. Your best practices tells you this is how you do things, this is how, then everybody does the same. But today, there are so many marketing books, there's so many sales books, and you can specifically prompt it around it. In this case, I read an interesting article or a letter about Wall Street's 2 young men letter. Why this letter is important? Because this letter is the world's most read letter. 3 billion views. 3 billion views. In this letter, Wall Street Journal talks about 2 young men. 2 young men graduated, but one of the young men, he always read Wall Street Journal every day, whenever it gets published. So funnily enough, they both ended up working in the same company. The person who read Wall Street Journal ended up being the president of the company. And the person who did not read Wall Street Journal ended up just being the vice president. The word that they used is just vice president. I know for many of us, that's a good title to have. So Wall Street Journal said, this is the reason why you should read us. See, he read Wall Street Journal and he progressed all the way to be the leader of the company. The other one has the same, but he didn't know much about the world because he didn't read Wall Street Journal and went on. Very interesting letter, go and read it. But now you are telling, this is a principle, right? You are telling the AI, I want you to write it as a Wall Street Journal's 2 young men's letter. So I'm telling it, I'm adding a role, act as a marketing copywriter, and you're still writing a sales letter to sell a course on how to have a better marriage, where the sales letter you write is of equal length. The reason for that equal length is if you don't tell it how long do you need, then it won't give you that. So if you tell it 1,000 words, if you tell it 3 paragraphs, if you tell it 3 slides, it gives you exactly. But if you don't tell it, it just gives you the same. Based upon the following example of the Wall Street Journal's 2 young men's letter, using that, paste the content of the sales letter. Did you see? Now you are talking to it as if you are talking to your colleague. Here we go. This is the sample. The sample is 2 young men's letter. By the way, what you're writing is a sales letter, and the sales letter is for a course and it's a marriage. Yes, understood. This is what our company does. And you is a marketing copywriter, but I'm not a trained marketing copywriter. It doesn't matter. The AI is. So when you do that, what does it give you? That's a data-fed prompt. And I want you to pick up this. What is it you want to do as a naked prompt, which is writing a sales letter to sell a course, or writing a sales letter to sell myself to my company for promotion, or writing a sales letter to win a business for your own client, etc. Then act as a proposal writer. Then you pick up some of the important things. But again, this is where if you don't know what are the data that you can feed it, ask OpenAI itself, hey, what are some of the best sales letter approaches? Who are some of the best sales letter gurus? Who are some of the leaders in sales letter? Now write it that way. This is called data-fed prompt. It's very, very, very powerful. And imagine if you have a client who has a certain type of working, especially, this is amazing if you use it for press releases, marketing, and also tenders, documents, executive summaries and stuff. Because it works for them, then it works for you. Imagine if you are if you are working for a leader, this is where it's slightly interesting. I know there are a lot of chief execs. Once they become a chief exec, they give the book that they like about leadership to their subordinates, to their board members. In the past, you just read it and you leave it. Why is it important? It's because of the leadership style that the leader wants to run is come from there. Today, you might be reading and say, oh, this is it. But you can now write emails using that leadership style to the same chief exec. How will it feel? How will it feel, sound exactly? That's what he wants you to do. So it's very, 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 very powerful. So that's the third one. Now we will be testing it out in an example. You will be testing it out. So, then what we call is a combination prompt. This is a little bit more advanced. Where what you are using it here is this is for when we call it expert users. So you got the response. You got the response, right? But you can stop here. You're already best than the most. But I want you to be the top 1%. That's the promise. So what you can do here, right? This is what we call is prompt chaining. Prompt chaining has, obviously, if you work with me, your life is going to be good. If you work with our company, we are going to reduce costs. We are going to be efficient. We are going to be innovative. You have learned all these things. That's called the pain points prompt. So you're going to add what's the best experience look like working for you or for your company. Then you're going to add what's the bad experience if you don't work for me or for the company. So add 7 bulleted items in the above sales letter listing the most common reasons that marriages fail and end in divorce. So if you go back and tell this to a couple, either they'll be, people act when it's negative or people act when it's positive. The next prompt that you are giving just for the same thing is list 10 benefits of marriage counseling, which is like, okay, you know what, things aren't working, but this is how you can do. So now you already got that data fed prompt, which is there waiting for you. And you already asked 2 pain points prompts, which is just telling you, one positive, one negative, and you could ask any other points that's relevant to marriage counseling. Just make a prompt that's relevant to why marriages last long, something like that, whatever it is. So the point here is the pain points prompts. In your case, you can call it, right? Again, you can call it. We already worked with the hot buttons or something, but the challenge with using all the proposal words is we already tested it part of the boot camps. Yes, it works. You can use your hot buttons. You could use a beta comparison matrix. You could come out with your own capture planning and all these things. It works. But I just want you to try differently because that's what is going to differentiate you from others. So you're asking for pain point prompts and you got it. And you can ask one more question. Now you're asking it, combine the last 3 responses into a single sales letter without deleting any of the content. Did you see how specific I've given? Because it just thinks, yes, it's annoying. It's totally annoying. Yes, at one end it thinks, but on the other end, don't assume it knows everything because it still doesn't know exactly what you want. So from the data fed prompt, we are giving what we call a prompt chaining, is asking several prompts, which means you are making, oh, this is my thought process. Okay, you're training the model you set up and it's learning as you go. Otherwise, you're taking raw data and you're going with it. Now I've got the answer. When I combine these 3 responses, that's what I called is a combination prompt. Well, let's see, I know you'll be laughing. I just received this email, I think a day or 2 from you. I have no idea what this project is about. Maybe you know. So I because I don't want to give a facilities management or some traditional thing. So here is a customer, right? The customer is the National Institute. Anybody knows this client? Honestly, I know you know this client. Anybody else who knows this, who they are? I don't know. But I don't want to give you a UK-based client because then it's just me and Luke here. So I thought predominantly everybody was like over 60% is US. So you could create anybody, NASA or anything, but just for the sake of it. right? You have the prompts within you, naked prompt, data-fed prompt, the role-based prompt, combination prompt, etc. I just want you to get a feel for this, right? You give a customer, this is the customer, and instead of having marriage counseling, you're going to say the same. Yeah, I have no idea, Alicia. It's you. I just learned from you. So primarily, you are going to add this one. Write a sales letter to win this IT services contract for this particular client, right? The client is somewhere here, National Institute of XYZ, right? So I just want you to test out with the different prompts, and I just want you to see what answers that you are getting. Mainly, yes, don't worry, you're still making a sales letter. Don't worry about, hey, is it a pre-tender, current proposal, where am I, etc., etc. I just want you to familiarize yourself with what could be the prompts that you can use, and you can go from there, right? So let me just share this. If you have downloaded the if you have downloaded the document, let me know, because that's important for you to work through. Have you downloaded the document? Yeah, please do. And that's important. And then I will just copy paste. You already have the prompts there. I'm just going to leave this here. You can actually copy paste this exact prompt inside, right? And then see what happens. But for now, I'll just see whether I can break out into we have 14. So I'll break out into 4. So primarily work, say hello to each other, get to know each other, say hello, hi, just spend 15 minutes, try the prompt, whether you're using 3.5, whether you're using 4, or whether using anything, Bing search or anything, just try to use the naked prompt and then see what answers that you're coming. One person can try, 2 person can try, just work among yourself and then see how it works. Shall I do the breakout and you go from there? Yeah, let's see how it goes. So breakout room 1, Nicole Skyers, Alessia, Risana, and Scott. Room 2 is Jason, and I think I have one other colleague from OST. I don't know the name. And then you have Phil. Then you have Christina, Esima, and Konstantinos 3 and 4. You have Harsh and Christine. So let me see. I will maybe move Scott to room 4. Move to room 4 so that we have an equal balance of 3, 3, 3. Okay. Oh, there is 4 there. Okay, good. So let's start. Say hello and work accordingly. And in 15 minutes, I'll stop, but I just want you to try the prompts. Go back and join the rooms. Thank you for right. So what part of the exercise is we learned 3 important things. Number 1 is, this is the reason I said sales letter is because when it comes to marketing and the marketing concepts, which is very similar to what we are trying to do in proposal, which a lot more facts and a lot more structured way, you could get some very interesting way of working. That's why you use as a proposal, but you can still use I will share at the very end, maybe a quick skim read of what we have been covering, part of the prompt lectures in the bootcamp, just skim read it so you could see how you can effectively use it for anything and everything at the very end. So role-based prompt is, if you act as a specific character, then it will start to act accordingly. The most important thing is the data. Right now, you still have to keep the same structure. Act as a marketing thing. Write what and what length you want it to write and on what style you want to write. Then it will give you answer. Now, you got the answer. but it's slightly generic. So now you're feeding it a little bit more interesting information. So now I want you to think from the pain points or the happy points of working with me, working over what's the differentiators of Amazon, and weaknesses. Use a SWOT analysis of Amazon, and you get information. Now you use that, use the strengths and and mitigate the weaknesses and rewrite the sales letter. Combine the last 3 responses, rewrite the sales letter, and you get a neat structured letter. So primarily what we're trying to say here is we learned 3-4 different prompts. We also learned combination prompts. So the point here is the most thing which is going to be absolutely amazing for you is story-based prompt. The reason I dwell more on this type of content is customers will get the same boring, dry corporate, I don't know, whatever the word you can add it to fill the gap all the time. I know this is what we can do, 10% efficiency. That's all you have been told. If you get the hot buttons, if you get your differentiators, and if you add your proposal win themes, what exactly are you going to do? I'm going to do 10% reduction, 15% reduction. Then you add it as an executive summary. This is what you want. These are the 5 different things I'm going to do it for you. And this is exactly what we're going to do for you. That's boring. What can you do to do differently? We believe every brand has a personality, and this is important because if you go back to this particular thing, what we are telling here is, okay, instead of writing a sales letter, create 2 fictional characters, and then in this fictional character, one who took help. So if you take Olesia's example, one who worked with Olesia for the tender, one who decided to bid on their own, one who worked with Olesia, which is in this case seeking marriage counseling or getting proposal support, end up having a successful marriage, one who didn't, lost the bid, and he went on. So you are exaggerating the plus and minus for them in a nice story. And then you are telling them, we're hoping that things will work out, but ultimately the marriage fails within 6 months. You can clearly see the prompts here. Make the story engaging with detail about the names of husband and wife in each of the 2 fictional couples and the specific challenging. This is an example that we worked with the marketing team today morning, and I thought I'll give the same example. So what you find here is, here you can create Amazon and Microsoft as 2 different characters, and you can really use this thing, but much more of a human story. So the customer, when they read it, is like, okay, this is the difference. Our brand has a personality, and this is what we need to do. Right. Next, you will face this issue. That's a story-based prompt. So when you are writing the sales letter or executive summary, think about a story. Think about your competition as a character. That's a big differentiator. Think about your competition as a character, and then you go from there. So when you think about it as a character, how will it write it differently in a human way, right? That's what, because at the end of the day, you might be doing products or services, but it's people buying people for people, right? How can you connect it there? The continuation prompts is like, 3.5 or 4, at some point, it just says, hey, sorry, you can't. So always use this prompt, which is continue the above or expand on the above. But you still need to use it, act as a marketing copywriter, act as a proposal writer for the scenario, expand on the above. Otherwise, if you have anything on the top, then it misses. So what you also need to justify, again, what past performance is important in a tender, because here it is same, create a list and provide sources and statistics for, if you do get divorce, the list of cost, settlement, and negative outcomes that typically occur in an average divorce, property settlements, etc., etc. Why this is important in a tender document? You should know what the pain points of the customer. Don't just assume the cost of a procurement is 10%, right? And if it's a $50 billion procurement, then they might be spending minimum 1% to maximum 10%. Minimum 1% is, I don't know, let's take it's a 5 million tender. Minimum 1% is at least 50K, 500K, 10%. So it just goes on. So that's the cost. So if you focus on, okay, use some stats instead of feeding. If you're fed Dan Kennedy, you're fed some experts, also add some facts to it. Do you know the procurement of getting it wrongly? Do you know the problem of finding a wrong solution? The cost of that in it here and there. So primarily, you're also using sources and stats prompt. In this case, you're asking it not just to provide styles, you're asking it specific sources and statistics that's relevant to this bit that's relevant to this particular sector, and you're prompting it, again during the pain points. What's the cost of getting it wrong? What are the negative press that you're going to get if this didn't work for you? And what's the cost if the transformation didn't happen at the right time, etc. So in this case, you have all these things. So what happens here is, number one, you're building from that story base. You're building from the story base prompt, and you're adding, and if you have any issues, you're adding continuation. Then you're adding sources and stats and prompts with this. So it becomes a much more rounded. You will be surprised time and time again if when you ask your customer, correct, that's a very good question. The question from Phil is, which is like, okay, generative AI is not going to share the sources. So how do you know that the information it produced is accurate, right? So this is where now with this question in particular, when I ask it for source and stats, so far it just helps you to writing. But when you ask for objective information, then it gives you some objective information. And you can specifically ask for sources. And it's important for you to double check whether the sources and the informations are actually correct. Some cases, the links that it provides, when you click it, the links might not exist. In some cases, we did it. This is the very first thing that we did part of the customer research. So if you go and ask when you do a customer research, hey, what are the mission, vision, values of this company? And does this company, what are the key pain points of this customer, etc. It does produce the answer, but it's important for you to double check this information. So yes, as well as your pointer, Jasper Boss does do it. But you could also use, the sources that it comes with, you can still check it. For example, when I ask for who are the key stakeholders who I want to build relationship within the company, it did give me the stakeholders, 10 stakeholders to get from the company. But then when I went to LinkedIn, 6 of those people were correct, 4 actually moved on, but the role wasn't there. So always use it as a baseline. Always use it as a baseline anymore. And if you use it as a fact, OpenAI told me it's a fact, then you are always use it as a baseline, get the information, then check the source. Where is this return? Is there anything that I can do to do more? That's where you stop. So again, we use it all the time for testimonials as well. For example, if you're asking a past performance and asking people, hey, can you write something? Because we have a reference contract, etc. Mostly people will have this initial issues with the start. Where what they called what's the right word? I forgot. The starting point trouble. Writer's block. So primarily, you can use it to create some sample testimonial, sample past performance, and then you could fill the gaps, and then you could sit down with the customer, and then you could do it. So and then it goes on and on and on. You can create a course outline, but the underlying principle before we add any more towards it is this. This is your default structure. Act as a role, capability. You are writing what, that is what, how long, in the style of X person, Y person, and what's your USP, how do you want to go for, specifically for this. And it's important for you not to be constrained by just the proposal terms, video scripts, headline SEO statements, description, radio advertisement, etc. will provide you punchy responses compared to write a headline summary of a proposal, etc. Right? Because these are in the shortest span of time how you can get the best information. So try to use this, right? Describe style, you could use it academic, professional, 10th grade, 12th grade, you saw that, or in a particular style. Act as a proposal writer, write a update like a radio advertisement that is 30 seconds long about a transport company where we transport XYZ, and then it should be persuasive and in the style of Professor Cialdini. You might have read Professor Cialdini, 7 Principles of Influence, which means it kinds of uses all those, principles of influence, and it adds an answer towards it. So this is the pattern. Act as a role, and what exactly you want me to write, and in what format you want to write, and in how long do you want to write, specifically in what style, and it also, you add your product or services or anything, and then you just close it. So it just gives the answer. The other way of looking into that is the same, is even simplifying it further. what's the topic, artificial intelligence or this tender. And yes, I will share the slides. So what's the artificial intelligence 10-point numbered list, which is like, I want it to be in 10 points. How it may affect proposal writers, discuss risk and opportunities, right in the voice of Winston Churchill. So it's like, don't worry, you'll be okay. We are going to win the war. It's fine. Proposal writers who can learn. Again, this is where that we missed. The additional layer that I've given you previously, you could find this as an USP. I've given the USP. Hey, like Amazon, yes, you have found all this information about Amazon, but specifically, this is what we did. We transport 10,000 passengers every day using hydrogen gas fuel, 0 emissions. In this case, the context that I want to look for is proposal writers who can leverage AI and adapt to be more creative and strategic work will likely thrive in the future job market. There's lots of typos there. That's fine. So I just wrote it today. So it's, and then you wait for the output, and it goes in cycles. So you define your goal, then you be specific, you format the lens, set the context, set the style, add the example. And if you want any leading word is make it persuasive, make it assuring, make it friendly, make it personal, make it punchy, make it legal, make it, you write it and write a letter as if it's a CEO who's writing a letter. Those are leading words. And then you go back to step 1 and you do it. There are lots of prompts that I have part of the next slides. There are 50, 60 prompts that's there. But I'm not going to go deeper on that because I just want you to test them within a particular context and you want to go from there. Again, we are not going to do this. You'll be pleased to say. And the different types of prompts, again, you could try a lot more. Let's just go on. So the roles, again, I just want you to be slightly more creative, not just add a proposal writer all the time. Right advertiser, right marketer, right PR person, etc., and see what's the best way to get to your audience. So again, what I've highlighted here is I want you to be an advertiser. You will create a campaign. In this case, it's a campaign. Your proposal is a campaign to promote a product or service of your choice. You will choose a target audience, develop key messages, slogans, select the media channels for promotion, and decide what you want to do, etc. The reason I said this is it opens up my mind, other than from whatever I've learned for years and years, and tells me that there could be a different way of doing it. Because, and this is the first question that you might have it, if all of you are competing with each other for the same tender, and if all of you are using a naked prompt and act as a proposal writer, write an executive summary, then Shipley's 4-box template, it's only going to give you the same answer. But what's going to differentiate you is what roles you're going to take, what styles you're going to give it, and how you are feeding information towards it so that it makes the answer. So it tells me, hey, I'll be to help, and see, these are some of the slogans you could use. Again, in an executive summary, when you are writing a tender, how nice it will be when you come out with a slogan for the tender. It'll be beautiful, rising with us, otherwise what we write, partnership, in partnership, all those things. So, and it also tells you all these things. So primarily where you need to think here is, this might not be comprehensive, but it always gives you a good start, right? And it's always easy to edit than create. That's the underlying message with this, and again, when you're doing it, and I've been telling many people, like, how much can you use it just for your own personal day-to-day work? We use it for recruitment. It's the same here. You can write it for recruitment. You can act as a director of recruiting and write the job descriptions, do all these things, prior experience, etc., and it just comes up. And we tried this in an executive summary recently, which really created ripples. And even the chief exec was like, wow, that was, because an executive summary is boring. You can start with, hey, this is what we can do for you, right? Just try to make it as a clickbait. Just try that. And this one, when I went in, and literally it makes you to read 13 shocking reasons why couples get divorced. #7 will shock you, so and then it goes on, rather than to say, here are the 5 reasons why you want to work with Amazon to win this tender, etc. Be experimental, write a clickbait article. And again, if you are using any newspapers, be very creative and you can just go for there. The very first page that we saw when I showed you on things, now OpenAI, that you can use it as a prompt. There are so many prompts that's available. So now you can just go there and choose your character. I'll show you after this. And you can see, hey, I'm a journalist, I am this, and then what would you like me to do? So it automatically become an avatar for you. And then whatever you write, it will be from the journalist thinking. It will be from the proposal writer. The proposal writer is not there, unfortunately, but marketer is there, So how can you do that? Script writer, again, this is I lifted from the Disney side. So it's writing. Okay, I just want to recruit a script writer, and funnily enough, they use the OpenAI to create a script writer. So I'll send you further information. So again, prompts for different roles are here. It's tons and tons of roles here. What can you do to add more? And here is two people left you before I share an important thing. This is where when you wait, good things happen in life. So sometimes, it could be a naughty kid. And, even before you ask for something, as it happened to Phil, it just tries to answer. Again, you just need to train it. It normally comes back. So when you're feeding it information, you always have to say this, or you can write it different ways, like acknowledge with 3 dots. You add the information and you say acknowledge with the 3 dots and do not write anything new. So it comes back with 3 dots and say, okay, 3 dots. Or you could say acknowledge with, say, understood. You can create anything. But what that means is, hey, I don't want you to do anything, just listen to me. So this is one prompt that we use, but you could try different things. Primarily, you're telling it, I don't want you to do anything. This is the information that I have already. Just take it. We looked at RFP shredding recently, and when you convert a big PDF into a text file, you send the information inside, and then you end with this note, acknowledge with a ... do not write anything, which means you're feeding a 30-page, 40-page document inside that it just gets it. Now you go back and ask it to write a sales letter with the same message that you have written. You have fed the exact RFP from this particular client. It now writes it very, very specifically for you. So acknowledge with the 3 dots, it's super powerful, but you can write it anything there. Acknowledge with an understand, and do not write anything new, etc. So, and these are some of the prompts, which we don't need to go in, and you can go and look at it in your own time. So, as I mentioned early on, this is becoming like, because the tools and templates for best practices and others might not be worth anymore. You can't. There is a tool that you can use to feed a document, but it's in the early stages. It's called Chat PDF. But if you want specific information, I think you have to feed it as a text. Chat PDF is a tool that you can use it, but there is a way of working with that. I think in the bootcamp we experimented with that, but I suggest you play with that Chat PDF. Yes, you can feed the document, but it's based on 3.5. But you need to ask, you need to prompt it. You need to get used to Chat PDF, and you need to experiment to know how it works. And yeah, so yes, that's the answer, Konstantin. So again, these are some of the sources, and what you're going to find here is more and more people are now trying to do prompts, and we have got a multitude of requests from creating a prompt library for the industry, because we used to have tools and templates within Baachu Scribble, like 50 templates, but I don't think that'll be of use anymore. Maybe for few people, but mostly. So we are planning to add all these things in different prompts. But again, the prompts that we have, generic prompts, will only be a naked prompt. The naked prompt won't last you. That's why I'm not really happy to do that, but many people are asking, so that's it. So this is an underlying principle before I open up ChatGPT and show you something. So, the next Windows 365 will not be Windows. If you are using the platform, it's not going to be Windows. It's changed. People who have experienced Copilot within Microsoft know that meant that many of the stuff that takes a lot of time for us is going to be done in seconds, 30 seconds, 50 seconds and stuff. And even Mid-Journey that we were talking about early on as a Discord today, the same thing is now been integrated within OpenAI. So the way we do images, the way we do text, the way we do sounds, audios, videos, everything is going to be drastically changing, and it's changing very, very quick, right? So again, all these things are in there. So before I even close, the point is you have to give ChatGPT your intention. This is me, and I want you to act like this, act as a role. We'll follow these jobs, you follow these steps in the style of this, and then my first suggestion is write a sales letter or do something or do XYZ. Right? It's that's how it goes. Then you get it, then you iterate it, and we move on. So that's the underlying thing. The AI is AI optimized. So again, we are working through every week, twice a week on the bootcamp, but before I close it, the next day things have changed. So it's changing very, very fast. And again, this is something you might have received, or if you haven't, I suggest you have a look at our Circle platform. It just went in today. It's called the Connect platform. So the Connect platform is where that we will be starting to share a lot of our information on it. It's free, join in. It's content, less content, but more community, so that we could start to share what works for us. So that's the point. So that's the content. And then you have the next, if you're not in the bootcamp, I'll see you at bootcamp tomorrow. Otherwise, it's April 18th. I moved it because of the Easter break. So any questions, I'm there. But in the meantime, let me open up and show you a few elements just so that you can see how you can apply on the other parts. So let me stop the share. If you have any questions, keep me posted. Again, within the thing. So this is right. Let me go. So as you can see here, can you see my screen? Yeah. Because when I change from PowerPoint to something else, it normally, can you see my screen? If you can, please say yes or one or something. Yeah, thank you. So I want you to, I didn't say anything. I want you to act as a prompt generator. First, I will give you as a title. You are a proposal writing coach and an AI proposal writer. I didn't say anything, right? I didn't say anything. So it automatically starts to add prompts for me. So even though I have added a lot of prompt part of the slides, you go play with it. I want you to act as a prompt generator. A first title I'm going to give you is a proposal writing coach and an AI proposal writer. What are the elements that then it kind of tells you some generic part. Now, I'm going to ask you, okay, I didn't even tell it what to do. I just said using AI to improve bid management, proposal development skills. Then it gives me some prompts around it. Again, I haven't got any specifics yet. I haven't given it for any context, or I haven't given it anything for a bid or anything. I just want to understand what does it know about things. So it just says, okay, I want you to be acting like an executive summary title writer. Then it gives me about what are the stuff. If you are reviewing an executive summary, these are the questions that you may, because it acts as a coach. How can you use, how can you design and format to enhance readability? All these things are very generic, but it's still, you can fine tune it to be whoever it is. But then you ask, okay, use the prompts, but you just said, but you just need to know about the length. You can't have it long, then it kind of tells you about the length, and it just keeps going. You could act it as a proposal reviewer, and it just goes on. So so again, Bob Woodward, again, you might have heard him, the one who broke the scandal, 1970s, the Watergate one. So you could ask, okay, I want you to be a proposal expert in forensics, subject matter expert, but I want you to write as Bob Woodward. Then it just acts as a Bob Woodward, but it also assumes what questions you might need to go for it. So, and you can just keep on. And these are the questions that we asked in the equal length. Copy paste the sales letter from the example. It then writes it here, 11111, and it just goes on. But what I would like you to show is a very quick, obviously the bootcamp people already know, but 5 minutes I'll just run through. But we spend hours on this. But for this one, if you want to specifically do on this, what we did was we took an example, and then we went from the top of what it actually can do. So stay with me. It might be dense. Come on. This is the problem. Again, using the chat, I think my team is already aware of it. So if you want to use one, don't change chats here, because it only remembers what you add here. It won't even remember what you add here. So that's how when you talk about confidentiality and other things, any information you add here, it will try to remove. It will try to remember that too, whatever you ask it to remember. Otherwise, it won't. So it's important for you to ensure that you have everything in one place. Otherwise, you'll be missing it. So let me so DFM contract. So this is the example that we looked at. I'll just give you, because I know specifically I haven't covered on the bidding side, because it's you can't do that in a 40-minute workshop. This is like we just add the principles. If you use the prompts, then you can go for that. So I'm just giving you the art of what could be possible. Yes. So this is the context that we used, in a bid, and then you could ask anything. So in the same context that I gave you, this is a bid, and then you ask, okay, and you could ask general market trends, right? Market information. It's a quick market insights. Write a market information, general market trends or dynamics related to the client and the particular sector, any recent trends or anything. It then starts to write. Okay, these are the recent trends. This is the market information. Again, if you want to understand the general pain points, add the same scenario, but ask the same. Again, in the context of the client and the sector, what are the strengths and weaknesses of the competition or the people that you're working on? It just gives you a very fast cut information about your company and your competition. Again, we haven't fed any information. It's specifically with that context that we gave on that bid, and it tells on, okay, can you also give, again, name and details of key competitors who may be pursuing this opportunity? Again, I just realized that's a very bad prompt. So what I went on is, I already know these 3-4 guys are bidding, but I also want to know who could be bidding based on this particular customer. Then it came back again. If you're in the UK, you might know these guys. These are some of the guys who came in. Then I went on and asked, what could be the value proposition for that particular company for this particular slide? So because it already knows the buyer, it already knows, because of COVID and other things, it then gradually starts to answer for you. Now I've got value propositions for this particular client. I'm not building it up how, what's executive summary? It tells me what executive summary is. Okay, fine. I don't want to know what are the hot buttons for this tender. These are the hot buttons for the tender. Now, can you list the hot buttons for me? Just list it. Okay, fine. This is it. I still haven't received my tender document, but even before receiving it, I'm just testing how far OpenAI can help me to do it. So now I'm just prompting it. This is what I'm adding context as an example. Hey, I know you gave me hot button, but remember there are decision makers. They might have their own pain points. If you think from those decision makers of Primark, which I haven't told them who they are, how will you change your hot buttons? And it came back with this. Write a bidder comparison matrix. Explain bidder comparison matrix. It already knows. And now go and do, as a client, go and do a bidder comparison matrix. It just did it. Now explain your scores. We had an interesting debate. It's like, how do you know this is the right score? Even the scores that we are getting an evaluation is subjective. At least this one, it will explain to you why I gave you that score. The reason I gave you that score is this for these reasons. Because this is publicly available, because it might not know. If you feed the information, then it will know. It will be biased because you are feeding more specific about your company, and you are just letting other companies, you don't know the latest about them. So it kind of tells you. But if you want to do a very baseline BCM, use it. Then you go back and ask, okay, now come out with a value proposition specific team statement in the format. I want you to improve what, by when, and how. I'm just feeding it specifically in the way I wanted. It tells me, hey, you're going to reduce in 15%. And so this, and the thing is, nothing stops it. And we are just scratching the surface here, and it just goes on and does everything that it wants you to do. Shared past performance, and it also, this is where you'll be shocked to say, how much does it already know about you and your company? Just go ask for it. And it tells you. And it also, how much does the competition have already worked with it? Create an executive summary for me. It pulls up, making it clear, compelling, and persuasive. It's a very blunt thing. This is the client. See how powerful it is. This is the client, and I know you're looking for this. This is the service. This is the company, and we know this is what your 4 or 5 issues are. It clearly tells you we are going to add. Imagine if you're using an action caption or anything, you can just present it in a nice way. This is what we're trying to do with you in 2-3 years, etc. Bingo, and it just goes on, right? So it's nothing. And again, you could test out with, hey, do you know Shipley 4-box, and does now go and do the same thing in Shipley 4-box. It just does it. So, if people comes back and say, hey, this is a copyright, that's it's fine. We have moved on in different world. If Shipley has added a 4-box template in the public domain, then that's for anybody to use it. That's the world. So the same thing, what's the kickoff meeting, how do you do, and it just goes on. And otherwise, I'll be boring you. Then you just go back and create compliance matrix, and you can go back and read a document and so. So the question is, there are a couple of ways to do it. I don't want to overload you, but for now, the important thing is anything is possible. And people might tell you, no, that's not possible. And yes, it might not give you an accurate answer, but the more you learn, the more you prompt, the more you do, you can get 10% answer to up to 50% answer. But then you can take it and run. It's like a relay race. The very first runner here is your AI, and it runs much faster than what you would have done yourself. And it gives you the thing that you take it and run with your own team. But that person is always waiting for you behind to guide you even more, to help you to win it. So that's it. So prompts are there. It's always there. And we'll continue to share this as we go along. But all I want you to do that is start with the basics, the 5 prompts that we studied, then add the story prompt, then you add the source prompt, then you also add testimonials, other prompt, and try to grasp the best of it. Then you go and test out in any proposal lifecycle that you want to go for. That's a separate exercise. But again, we have added a prompt, but as I told you today, that thing, it's different. I will share that in a different screen so that it might be easy for you to understand. So when I open a new chat, when I open a new chat, because I already added the prompt within the whole thing, it kind of gives me a role. Hey, what are you trying to achieve here? I don't even know. I don't even need to write it. Act as XYZ, right? So automatically comes up and tells me, do you want to do all these things? Non-fiction writing. Because again, all these things are the one that's mostly used. And then you can search any prompt that's relevant to it. Unfortunately, there is no proposal because in the larger schemes, we are not there. Then you could choose between 3.5 and 4. 3.5 obviously is fast. 4 has more reasoning. Then you go. Then you can choose the different prompts. It just goes, when you click it, it automatically goes into a Reddit where it tells you all the prompts that it's part of it, because people are adding. You don't need to do your own hard work. Somebody else are working through making it easy, and we are sharing. In our case, if you find any, we are testing it ourselves, and the more we find it, we'll add it in our Connect platform. That's why, if you can, please do join in. We'll send the invite, because that's where we'll be sharing more. So, and this is it. So this wasn't there before. Now it's there, and you can add it to your Google Chrome, and you can go. Bard is a separate tool. We haven't covered Bard yet. It's exactly the same. You could ask Bard pretty much the same here. But play with it. Because Bard is new. Bard.google.com, and just play with it, ask the same questions. So that's it. And when you log into Circle, which is what we are trying to do, because there's a lot of information in slides format, in videos, etc. We are planning to bring it all together. We started with our bootcamp friends, and then we are gradually adding it more. So our intention is, self-care is important, because how can you use AI for self-care? You'll be surprised. We are using a lot more on that. AI-powered bidder resources are being added. Then primarily, we are just adding more and more towards it. What are the shares and resources and toolboxes that we're finding? We're added here, any events and other things. This will be content less. Will be much more of working along as a team. So that's the high-level pointers. Slides and everything will be shared with you in the next 24 hours. Again, the script which I send it to you, it's only for you. That PDF document with the slides, we'll send the slides as well. Any other questions before we close? I wasn't expecting it to last for 2 hours, but it's there. Any question from anybody? You can add it in the chat, or it's finding, if it's useful, let me know. We will have a second version of it around June time when we have much more advanced thing. But I'll be on standby. Any further questions?